There we go.
And we're back.
Sorry, guys. Now we can start the actual video. We had to wait out.
No time limit, thank God.
Oh, there's a time limit. We can't be on here for hours. Anyways, this is a list, and we did a Jonbenet Ramsey more in detail.
Last month and the month before.
Yeah, but since this is the anniversary of her death and everything, I wanted to do it again. Only this time we're gonna do it in list form. It's just like random like facts and things that I've found on the internet and everything and research. Instead of just like a huge big retelling, I guess. Anyway, so the first, number one, the suitcase at the crime scene belonged to John Andrew Ramsey. In the basement where Jonbenet was found, a blue suitcase rested by the wall directly below the broken window where an intruder may have sneaked in. Patsy Ramsey insisted that the suitcase didn't belong to anyone in the family. Instead, she said that the killer must have brought it to stuff Jonbenet's body inside, which I know it was not a very big suitcase. However, the suitcase belonged to John's eldest son, John Andrew, and the things inside were incredibly unnerving. Inside were a semen-encrusted blanket and a book by Dr. Seuss. At the time, John Andrew was a childless college student, far too old to be reading Dr. Seuss.
I don't remember.
But the semen on the blanket was proven to be his by a DNA test. The police didn't take the suitcase investigation much further, though they had already removed John Andrew from the list of suspects because they were confident that he wasn't in town when the murder happened. But if she was sexually assaulted,
it could have been him that sexually assaulted her. I didn't know that they had a suitcase with his DNA in it.
Yeah, you couldn't see it. It's like it's below.
No, I saw the suitcase in the videos that they did, but I didn't know what was inside. Like, I don't remember hearing about what was inside of it. And I'm going to reiterate this that I said in the last video. When they did research on the window, the broken window, all the glass was on the outside. Not on the inside. On the outside. Which means it was broken from the inside. Out.
So, I mean, they proved that a guy could sneak in through the window. I don't know if they didn't discuss that one. The points I can't remember, but
they proved that you could, yes. But they said, well, somebody broke the window. Yes, from the inside. So if they got in, the window was already unlocked. If somebody snuck in. And then they broke it out to make it look like somebody came in.
But due to Christmas lights and stuff, there was a lot of doors and stuff open anyway. But I don't know.
I mean, think about it. Pageant, Christmas time, blah, 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 whatever. People are coming in and out of that house anyway. All night long. All day long. You never know who it is.
Something's fishy.
Everything's fishy about this story. Yeah. Literally everything's fishy about this story. The skeletons that came up when people started to investigate this story. It's crazy, because it could literally be one of, 5, 6 people. There's so much evidence that points at everybody that it's like, wait, how do we figure out who it was?
Hopefully someday. Just like Jack the Ripper, hopefully someday.
My turn.
Now for number 2.
John Ramsey had another daughter who died 4 years earlier, before he met Patsy. John Ramsey had married his college sweetheart, an elementary education major named Lucinda Pash, in 1966. The two were married for 12 years and had 3 children together, Elizabeth, Melinda, and John Andrew. Elizabeth died shortly before Jonbenet's death. In 1992, Elizabeth's car careened into an oncoming truck on the interstate, killing her and her boyfriend. After Jonbenet died, police took an unusual interest in what had happened to Elizabeth. Even though she died in an accident, police reviewed the autopsy report, only saying that they were following up on any and all leads in the Ramsey investigation. There's no evidence that Elizabeth's death was anything other than an accident or that John and Patsy had any role in it. The autopsy review, though, suggests that just how much the police may have considered the Ramseys as suspects. Yeah, that actually kind of makes sense now that I think about it. You know, if she was either part of or caught someone sexually abusing her younger sister, they could have been like, we gotta get rid of her. Let's cut the brake lines.
Whoops.
Oh no, Elizabeth's dead.
No witness to my...
Now we have to get rid of the baby because she could talk now.
3.
Who knows?
John and Patsy went with the police when they questioned his ex-wife. The police knew that John Andrews wasn't in town when the murder happened because they asked his mother, Lucinda, after Jonbenet's death. Detectives flew to Atlanta, where Lucinda lived with her new husband. The police questioned Lucinda and talked to family friends. When the police left, they were confident that John Andrew and Melinda, John Ramsey's children with his first wife, could be removed from the list of suspects. However, newspapers reported that John and Patsy wanted to support Lucinda, so the couple flew as quickly as possible to Lucinda's home to be with her when she spoke to the police. I'm sorry, but I'm not going with you to Shannon.
Yeah, if my ex-wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, is going to be questioned by police, I'm not going either. Why would I do that?
I'm going to support you.
Like, hey, Shannon, we had an awful marriage. Let me come back and support you while you're being questioned by police about something that I may have been a part of. Why would I do that?
You didn't.
I don't want to be around my ex-wife.
I wouldn't want to be around your ex-wife.
Like, we were friendly-ish.
Like even Patsy went with
him.
His wife. With them to support her.
Current wife, come with me to see my ex-wife, please. I want to make you uncomfortable and her to do.
To support you while the police are there questioning about my dead daughter. It's not even your daughter.
That you probably didn't even know that well. She was an adult, right?
Jonbenet?
Elizabeth.
Oh, yeah. Elizabeth was her daughter. I'm talking about Jonbenet. This was questioning when Jonbenet.
I'm talking about Patsy. Come with me to talk about a daughter you probably don't even really know that well.
This was because because after Jonbenet died, they found the stuff from Andrew.
Oh.
So they went through and went to go.
Oh, so that wasn't about Elizabeth. That was about Jonbenet. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Misunderstanding y'all. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm ADHD. My thoughts don't always connect, right? Yeah. Squirrel. Oh.
Your turn.
My turn.
Oh.
Patsy's family pushed Jonbenet into pageants. Patsy Ramsey had been a beauty queen who was in the running to become Miss America. She wasn't the first beauty queen in her family, though. Her mother, Nedra... Is it Nedra or Nidra? I'm not sure. I've never heard it, so I don't know. I'm going to go with Nedra. I think it sounds more, exotic, I guess. Nedra Reimer was crowned homecoming queen in 1952. Nedra was reportedly furious when Patsy wasn't crowned Miss America, so Nedra passed her dedication on to her granddaughter, Jonbenet. Sorry, there's like a hair. Bugs the shit out of me. Nedra liked to show off Jonbenet to her friends by announcing, "This is my Miss America." According to a family friend, Nedra didn't let Jonbenet miss a pageant. The friend asked, what happens if Jonbenet wakes up and says, nope, I'm not going to be in the pageant tonight? Nedra supposedly said, we say, you will do it. So, basically, I don't care if you're 4 years old and you want to just go hang out with friends today. You're going to go to this pageant because I'm an asshole. I don't care about Joe's
birthday party, but you have a pageant today.
That's messed up. Some grandmother she is.
Fine. Well, her mom was. They were all pageant queens.
That's not the point.
All living through.
That's not the point. The point is, if Patsy was like, she doesn't feel well today, I'm not going to let her go. Grandma would walk in and say, let's go, pick her up.
They were all pushing her.
I'm just saying, that's awful. And I can almost guarantee you, if Patsy were to say, no, she's sick, Grandma would walk in, pick her up, throw her over her shoulder, take her to the pageant, fix her up to look like she's not sick. Here, do your shit. You know what I mean? Like, she wouldn't even care what Patsy said, much less what the little one said.
So 5.
God.
Jonbenet may have been sexually assaulted when she was 3 years old. When Jonbenet's body was found, it showed signs of genital injury, including bloodstains in her underpants. Her vaginal... We're going kind of graphic here. Her vaginal opening was also twice the size of that of a normal 6-year-old girl. According to some investigators, that didn't happen from only one night of abuse. At age 3, Jonbenet visited her doctor twice, complaining about vaginal irritation and redness. This has been touted as a sign that she was sexually assaulted, although her doctor insisted that the irritation came from her bubble bath. More troubling, though, in the 911 call made from Ramsey's house 3 days before Jonbenet's murder on December 23rd, 1996, someone called the police from the Ramsey's home and then hung up before saying a word. The family wrote this off as irrelevant, but some have suggested that something might have been happening to Jonbenet.
Twice the size. Twice the size. A 6-year-old's vagina is not supposed to be that fucking big.
It's only like, I don't know.
We know nothing about the actual size of a 6-year-old's vagina.
I'm in the medical field, and like,
okay, but let's say a normal 6-year-old's vaginal opening's only supposed to be like a pinky. Okay, how does it get bigger? From repeated stretching.
From nasty people.
From repeated stretching. When you're, when you have sex with somebody that's a little too big, it stretches. I know. The first time I had sex, the guy was too big. And it...
Graphic.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, it stretches. Yeah. But, I mean, that shit hurts when it stretches, too. I know. Imagine a 6-year-old going through that. That's not comfortable. That's not just uncomfortable. That's painful. Even for an adult, that shit's painful.
Just wrong on so many levels.
That means somebody was sexually abusing that child before she died. That's ridiculously disgusting, and I hope to God they finally catch whoever did it. Has it been 20 years?
A long time.
When did it happen?
96? Yeah, 96.
96? So when I was 15. Mm-hmm. It's been 20 years. They need to find whoever did this.
Yeah,
I'm disgusted with... I hate people.
So we're going number 6.
I say daily how much I hate people, and I do. But not all people, just awful people. People that don't follow the law, people that hurt children, people that rape and murder and...
6.
I know. I'm just irritated now. Because I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a thing that happened. And that really, that hurts my heart. So it's going to take me a second. I'm sorry. You gotta be glad I'm not crying. It is. Number 6. John Ramsey thought the pageants were creepy. Of course they were. Years after Jonbenet's death, John Ramsey said, I see her in shorts and a t-shirt and hair kind of scruffy and just kind of a kid. In his memory, his daughter isn't a pageant queen dolled up in makeup and dresses. He wrote that off as something Patsy encouraged for fun. Today, though, John regrets letting his daughter enter the pageants. He believes that putting his daughter on display may have put her in the wrong light in someone's eyes. In an interview with Nightline, John recounted a story when Jonbenet sat atop a car in the Christmas parade. Patsy's mother later told me that a strange man approached the car during the parade, and it made her uncomfortable. He recalled, "It makes me cringe." Burke seems to agree with his father. When asked about the murder by Dr. Phil, Burke suggested that the murderer was some pedophile in the pageant audience.
What do you think about it? What do you think? You could dress a child provocatively. There's going to be pedophiles there.
There's going to be
It's gotta be.
Like, even people who aren't pedophiles are going to look at a child like that and be like, holy shit. You know, they're going to see her as sexualized. Whether they feel sexual towards her or not, they're going to see her as sexualized because she looks like a young adult. Mm-hmm. She looks like a little adult. Like this. She looks like a midget. Or, not a midget, sorry, that's...
A little person.
That's awful, I'm sorry. A little person. She looks like a little person dressed up like an adult. You know? Like, she's not just a 6-year-old in most people's eyes. When you see that. I think it's disgusting. Mm-hmm. I don't think children should be dressed up, sexualized like
children
that.
Should have mud on their face. They should look like a child.
When I was 6 years old, I was playing in a puddle that was like that deep in our front yard. I would fill it with water and just play in the mud. That's what you're supposed to do at 6 years old. You're not supposed to be prancing around a stage,
with your hair all done up and makeup.
Singing like Marilyn Monroe. It's wrong. Mm-hmm. It's just wrong in my eyes.
7. John Ramsey dated Natalie Holloway's mother. In 2005, the media went wild trying to solve the mysterious death of another young girl, Natalie Holloway. Like the death of Jonbenet, theories sprouted everywhere. Also like the Ramsey's case, some people suggested that Natalie's mother, Beth Tweedy, was too involved in the media. After Patsy's death from ovarian cancer, John Ramsey met Beth at a fundraiser and started dating her. The two initially insisted they were just friends, probably wanting to keep the media at bay. But they were spotted by paparazzi kissing and holding hands. John and Beth's relationship didn't last long, though. Beth was behind me in terms of the grief cycle, John explained, suggesting that either he felt she was too emotional over her daughter's death, or she didn't think he was emotional enough. In other words, he got over it faster than she did. Over the death of his daughter.
I'm sorry. I've never lost a child, but I've lost people in my life that were close to me. Like a parent. They weren't my parent, but they were close, like a parent. Mm-hmm. Or my grandma when she passed. Mm-hmm. You don't get over that. You don't.
You learn to cope. But
to this day, if I see a video of my Aunt Becky telling me she loves me, I start bawling. And that's just my aunt.
Yeah, my grandmother and stuff.
I can't imagine if that was my child. There's no way I would get over that.
I'm not that kid, you guys.
We've stated that over and over again.
That was the other video.
No, we've stated it in a bunch of our videos.
We love it.
Sorry, I'm tearing up just talking about my Aunt Becky, see? I didn't even know her my whole life.
It's bad when I got 5, 6, or 8.
Yeah, no, I know which one we're on.
No, I'm just...
Oh, you're telling them.
That and when I could put a number up there.
Like right here between our heads. Number 8.
Or over our faces.
Watch me. Number 8.
She's weird.
I'm insane, but that's not the point. A jeweler tried to talk John's fiancée out of marrying him. After Patsy's death, John Ramsey got married again to a fashion designer named Jan Rousseau. She and John had met at a wedding and started chatting by text. Soon, John was traveling to Utah to be with her. Over breakfast at a resort, he handed her a diamond ring. Marrying John Ramsey, though, isn't as easy as marrying someone else. When Jane picked up the refitted ring from the jeweler, she claimed that the man behind the counter tried to talk her out of marrying John. John Ramsey, the jeweler said, looking over the documents in front of him, it was the son that did it. Jane insisted that Burke was innocent, but the jeweler wasn't convinced. Well, he told her, that family knows something they're not telling. Undeterred, Jan married John Ramsey in a ceremony in front of all his family.
I'm not so sure about who did it.
It's really difficult to say because, you think about it, some of the evidence supports the fact that it wasn't somebody outside of the house that got in.
But some of it supports it does. It was.
Right. Some of it supports that it might have been Burke because they had that pineapple and milk thing, didn't they?
What was pineapple?
I don't know.
I kind of want to try it.
I kind of want to try it now too.
It was their thing though.
I mean, that am I right about that? Pineapple and milk?
No, you're right. Or was it? Yeah, it was some type of
pineapple?
fruit. Yeah, I think it was pineapple. I don't know. Some people say it was a mixed cocktail fruit.
I've just never heard of eating fruit with milk. I've heard of eating fruit with whipped cream.
Yeah, it was
but
something
there's a different flavor to it,
Yeah, it was something the family did. I don't know exactly.
But it bothers me because I watched a documentary on the Jonbenet Ramsey murder.
I watched every single one.
No, just listen. In this one, they went through all the possibilities about if this person did it, how would it have happened, what evidence supports that kind of thing, And they went through, if Burke did it, could he have used that flashlight to smack her in the head? Would it have caused the indentation that she had on her head?
And they said yes.
And they said yes, he could have. He would have had enough of the physical force to do it.
Is the strangulation is what killed her. But I don't think he would have been able to strangle.
No, but he would have been able to knock her out. He had the strength to put behind hitting her with that flashlight.
I mean, they had a kid hitting a watermelon, and one of them.
Right, and the shape of the, where it hit that matched that flashlight. So that was something that hit her. And I mean, they went through the taser thing too, but he wouldn't have been able to use a taser.
I know, they're not sure if it was actually a taser or not.
They said that the marks matched up to certain ones.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just, it's almost like it was a group effort. Like, Burke accidentally knocked her out because he was mad or something. And then everybody else kind of went with it after that and fucked everything up and made it look worse than it was. 9.
This one I found interesting, which I think it gets more into being abused. Because usually when somebody is abused, they start peeing the bed or having other weird things. So Burke used to smear feces everywhere.
That's weird.
Which is a form, that kind of... Anyway, before Jonbenet's death, Burke had a tendency to smear feces everywhere he could. Remnants of his work were found in the bathroom and even Jonbenet's bedroom. A discovery that led to some to believe that he resented his sister and was behind her murder. Jonbenet also had a problem with regularly wetting the bed. Some have suggested that Patsy might have killed her in a rage over bedwetting, while others have pointed out that bedwetting can be a symptom of sexual abuse. There's a possible link between the two siblings' problems, though, that usually doesn't get mentioned. Patsy told police that she would once found in Jonbenet's bed fecal matter the size of a grapefruit on the sheets. that might mean that Jonbenet's problem was worse than it seemed, or that her brother's was. I wonder if
the feces thing is not a sign of sexual assault, but it is a sign of attention seeking.
I wonder though if they were being forced to be inappropriate together.
It's possible. It would explain why.
Some sickos do that.
Yeah, a lot actually.
Because it would kind of make sense as why he's acting out. But
She's
it's also an
bed.
attention seeker too, because she's famous, he's not. I'm sure she's being a spoiled, little girl. But the fact that they're both being abused, or
she's being abused and he's feeling jealous that she's getting all the attention.
Something's going on.
Either way,
something's going on.
I don't know. The way he acted in that interview, though. I've watched all the videos.
And I've seen the videos of, when the cops are talking to him, or when the therapist is talking to him when he's a kid and stuff. But I don't know.
No apathy. Well, just the slightest bit psychotic. Like, there was no emotion.
But you would shut yourself down if you're being abused.
And that fake crying. Total crocodile tears. But, they don't look at that as he did something wrong. They look at that as, he may have done something wrong, but we can't prove it. 10? That's mean. Alright, I'll move on. Sorry, I gotta wet my whistle after chips. Burke smiles when he talks about Jonbenet's death. See, we were just talking about this. Like, literally. 13 days after Jonbenet died, Burke Ramsey was brought in to speak with a child psychologist about what had happened. His sister had just been brutally assaulted and murdered inside his own home, but Burke was strangely untroubled. He told the psychologist and police that his mother was going psycho looking for Jonbenet and that she was overreacting. He seemed happy and carefree the whole time and joked about being too busy playing video games to worry about his sister. 20 years later, in an interview with Dr. Phil, Burke still smiled and laughed whenever he talked about his mother's worries about Jonbenet. More than a few people were unnerved. People are going to see this throughout the entire interview, a real unusual effect after smiling or laughing. Dr. Phil warned his audience, this is very socially awkward young man.
Which if he was abused, though, he would be very socially awkward and not able to genuinely feel.
Well, there's been some...
he's got PTSD and stuff.
There's been some argument about whether psychotics are born that way or they experience traumatic events that cause them to be that way.
One, I think there's a genetic or maybe
I think it's a combination, maybe.
Yeah. I think there's different forms. Like, I think there's, like, genetic or, like, where your brain is wired a different way. Or, and then there's made. Like, Eileen Wuornos and, let's see, Ed Gaines and those type were made. Because they were abused and they were...
I thought it was Gein.
It depends on who you ask. Either way, they were made that way. Ted Bundy had a great life.
Charming man.
Charming man. But I think there was something wrong mentally. Whether there was an imbalance or something. Wasn't quite right. Say with Jeffrey Dahmer. I mean, he kind of... Yeah, he got picked on for being gay and stuff. Was not able to be himself. But other than that, though, he pretty much had a
normal life. Yeah.
He wasn't really abused a whole lot.
I guess we'll never know.
11! false confession. In 2006, the first suspect for the Ramsey's case was arrested in Bangkok, Thailand. John Mark Carr admitted to assaulting and accidentally murdering Ramsey. However, the case had to be dropped as Carr's DNA did not match the DNA found at the crime scene, and police quickly found evidence that placed him in Georgia at the time of the murder. The lead investigator for the Ramsey's case, Mark Beckner, found it embarrassing that the Boulder DA jumped at the chance for Carr's confession. I really think we need to quit looking at the DNA.
I think the DNA was placed.
Yeah, I don't think the DNA...
Like, whoever's DNA is there, it's just some random person, I think, because...
They could have... The people that did it could have and gotten...
There's been some speculation that Patsy went and found a homeless guy, had sex with him, and put his DNA in that spot so that it would be noticed.
I doubt it, but that's true.
No, I'm just saying, there's been speculation. I don't know. I don't believe it, to be honest. I figured, maybe they just found...
I'm just saying, though.
They found something to put there, some random person's DNA to put there, but...
I'm saying, I don't think that the DNA should be followed. I think we need to just completely wipe that out of our brain.
Just forget there was any DNA at all.
Which, if you base things on facts, I think we'd get a lot further.
12! Bad Santa. This is a weird theory in my book. At one point, even the town Santa came under investigation in the Ramsey case. Bill McReynolds, the Santa in question, and his wife Janet became suspects in the investigation when it came to light that Bill had given Jonbenet a card that said, "You will receive a special gift after Christmas." To make suspicions worse, the McReynolds had lost their daughter 22 years earlier, also on December 26th. Janet had written a play that was suspiciously similar to the Ramsey case. Neither of the McReynolds' DNA match was found at the crime scene.
Quit with the DNA.
Yeah, just forget all about that, please.
Never did it, probably planted evidence. 13! Alright. While popular theories often point to one of the Ramsey's family members being the killer, there are a few suspects who have rather suspicious ties to the case. One such suspect is Gary Oliva?
Let's see.
Oliva?
Oh, Oliva.
Who had allegedly claimed to hurt a little girl not long after Jonbenet's death and had tried to strangle his mother in an eerily similar fashion to how Jonbenet had been strangled. But nonetheless, Oliva DNA did not match the DNA found in the crime scene.
Who cares about the DNA? Who cares? We're under the impression that DNA doesn't have anything to do with it, so let's